The red wine hit my shirt like a declaration of war. "Oh God, Grant, you're such a klutz," Dana said. But her smile told a different story. The kind of smile that said she'd been planning this moment, savoring it like the expensive Cabernet now soaking through my cotton blend. "Maybe you should just go home. You're embarrassing me." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stood there in the lobby of the Meridian Hotel, watching my wife of 8 years dab at my chest with a napkin that cost more than my lunch. Around us, her marketing team pretended not to stare while absolutely staring, the kind of corporate vultures who fed on moments like this. "It's fine," I said. But Dana was already turning away, her attention shifting to Evan Royce like a satellite dish locking onto a signal. Evan, with his perfect teeth and his account director salary that made my logistics supervisor paycheck look like pocket change. "Don't wait up," she called over her shoulder, already walking toward the hotel restaurant where her team dinner was happening. A dinner I apparently wasn't sophisticated enough to attend. I watched her go, feeling the wine seep through to my skin, cold and sticky and permanent. But here's the thing about being married to someone for 8 years. You learn their tells. The way Dana's left eyebrow twitched when she lied, the way she touched her necklace when she was nervous, the way she'd been checking her phone obsessively for the past 3 weeks, angling the screen away from me like she was guarding state secrets. So instead of going home like the good little husband, I walked 2 blocks to a men's warehouse and bought a new shirt. Blue this time. Less dramatic for what I was planning. 20 minutes later, I was back at the Meridian, slipping through the service entrance I'd noticed during my humiliating exit. The kind of entrance guys like me, the invisible guys who keep the world running, always notice. The service hallway smelled like industrial disinfectant and broken dreams. I followed it until I found the door that led to the restaurant's private dining area. Through the small window I could see Dana's table, 8 people, all laughing at something Evan had said. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "God, did you see Grant's face?" Dana's voice carried clearly through the thin door. I thought he might actually cry. "Poor bastard," Evan said, and the way he said it made my jaw clench. "Does he always dress like he shops at Walmart?" "Always." Dana laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut glass. "You should see what he wears to bed. If I have to look at those ratty boxers one more time, I might file for divorce just on grounds of aesthetic assault." The table erupted in laughter. Even Ashley, Dana's supposed best friend, was cackling like this was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. "Speaking of divorce," Evan said, his voice dropping to what he probably thought was a whisper, "when are you going to tell him about us?" My phone almost slipped from my hands. "Soon," Dana said. "I just need to figure out the financials first. Make sure I get what I deserve after putting up with his mediocrity for so long." "You deserve everything," Evan said, leaning over to kiss her. Right there at the table, in front of everyone, like I didn't exist. Like our marriage was already buried and they were dancing on the grave. I kept recording until they broke apart, until Dana started detailing exactly how boring I was in bed, until Evan shared his theory that guys like me were evolutionary outliers. Then I walked back through that service hallway, past the industrial disinfectant smell and the broken dreams, and out into the night air that suddenly felt clean and sharp and full of possibilities. The shirt was ruined, but my patience was torn to pieces, and that, as it turned out, was exactly what I needed. Monday morning hit Dana's world like a freight train, but she didn't know it yet. I'd spent the weekend being very, very busy, the kind of busy that involves data recovery software and a suspicious amount of coffee. See, Dana thought she was clever with her digital footprint, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd synced her tablet to our home Wi-Fi for automatic backups. Every deleted text, every private email, every photo she thought had vanished into the digital ether. All of it sitting right there on our shared cloud storage, waiting for someone smart enough to look. Someone like me. "You're up early," Dana said, breezing into the kitchen like she owned the world. She was wearing her power suit, the red one that cost more than my car payment. "Don't you usually sleep until the last possible minute?" "Couldn't sleep," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "Kept thinking about Saturday night." Her hand froze halfway to the coffee pot. "What about Saturday night?" "Oh, you know." I clicked send on an email and smiled. "Just how much fun you seemed to be having." She recovered quickly, I'll give her that. "It was a work dinner, Grant. Not exactly a barrel of laughs." I closed the laptop and stood up. "Well, I hope today goes better for you." The kiss she gave me tasted like lies and expensive lipstick. 30 minutes after she left for work, I sent the email. Not to her. That would have been too easy, too personal. Instead, I sent it to HR, to compliance, to the company's ethics hotline. A carefully crafted message with video attachments, email threads, and a detailed timeline of policy violations. Because here's what Dana and Evan had forgotten in their rush to mock the boring logistics guy. I actually knew how corporations worked. I knew about expense account fraud and workplace harassment policies. I knew about the company's strict rules regarding romantic relationships between employees in the same department. I knew exactly which buttons to push to make their world explode. By lunch, my phone was buzzing. "Grant?" Rick's voice sounded confused. "Dude, what the hell is happening at Dana's office? My wife heard from her friend in accounting that there's some kind of investigation going on." Rick worked construction, married to a woman who cleaned offices downtown. Between the two of them, they had better intelligence networks than the CIA. "Really?" I said, injecting just the right amount of surprise into my voice. "That's weird." "Yeah, weird. Also weird that you sound like you just won the lottery." I laughed. "Just having a good day, I guess." "Uh-huh." Rick knew me too well. "You want to grab a beer after work? Celebrate your mysteriously good day?" "Can't. I have a feeling Dana's going to want to talk when she gets home." That turned out to be the understatement of the century. Dana came through the front door like a hurricane at 6:30, her power suit wrinkled and her perfect composure cracked down the middle. "What did you do?" she demanded, not even bothering with hello. I looked up from the couch where I'd been reading. Actually reading, not just pretending. "I'm sorry?" "Don't play dumb with me, Grant. HR called me in today. They had questions about my relationship with Evan. Very specific questions." "That's terrible," I said, turning a page. "What kind of questions?" Her eyes narrowed. "The kind that suggests someone's been telling stories." "Stories?" I closed the book and gave her my full attention. "What kind of stories?" "Stories about me and Evan having an inappropriate relationship. Stories about us using company resources for personal activities. Stories that could get us both fired." I stood up slowly, letting the moment stretch. "Honey, are you having an inappropriate relationship with Evan?" The question hung in the air between us like a loaded gun. "Of course not," she said, but her left eyebrow was twitching. "The accusation is ridiculous. Evan and I are colleagues, nothing more." "Then you have nothing to worry about," I said. "I'm sure HR will figure out that someone's just trying to cause trouble." She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see the wheels turning behind her eyes, trying to figure out how much I knew, trying to calculate the odds that boring, predictable Grant had finally grown a spine. "I'm going to take a shower," she said finally. "Good idea. You look like you've had a rough day." As soon as I heard the bathroom door close, I opened my laptop and checked my email. 3 new messages from addresses I didn't recognize, all with the same subject line: divorce attorney, free consultation. Word was already spreading. I deleted the emails and opened a new browser window. Time for phase 2. Because if Dana thought HR was bad, she was about to learn what real trouble looked like. The video went live at 10:47 a.m. on Tuesday. Not the video I'd taken. That was still my ace in the hole. This was security footage from the hotel restaurant, somehow liberated from their servers and edited down to the highlights. Dana and Evan's kiss. Their laughter. The moment when she'd mimed throwing something and they'd both cracked up. Ashley posted it to her Instagram with the caption, "When you realize your friend's work dinner is spicier than the appetizers." By noon, it had 300 views and climbing. By 2 p.m., someone had shared it to TikTok with Dana's full name attached. By 4 p.m., it was making the rounds on Facebook, complete with commentary from people who recognized her from college. I knew all this because Ashley called me, breathless with excitement and fake concern. "Grant, I am so sorry," she said, her voice dripping with the kind of sympathy that comes with a side of gossip addiction. "I had no idea the video would blow up like this. I was just trying to be funny, you know? I never meant for it to hurt you." "It's okay, Ashley," I said, sitting in my office at the logistics company where I'd worked for 12 years. Where everyone knew me as the quiet, reliable guy who never caused drama. "I appreciate you calling. I mean, we all knew something was going on between them, but seeing it like that..." She trailed off, waiting for me to fill the silence with pain or anger or something she could report back to the group chat. Instead, I gave her nothing. "Well," I said finally, "I guess the truth has a way of coming out." "Oh my God, you're being so mature about this. I don't know how you're not screaming right now." "What's the point of screaming?" I asked. "It won't change anything." But that was a lie. I was screaming on the inside. Not with pain or betrayal. I'd worked through those emotions over the weekend, between data recovery sessions and evidence compilation. I was screaming with the pure electric joy of watching a plan come together. The call ended just as Dana burst through my office door. She looked like she'd been hit by a truck. Her perfect hair was disheveled, her makeup smeared, her power suit wrinkled beyond salvation. Behind her, I could see Jerry from security hovering nervously in the hallway. "You snake!" she hissed, loud enough for half the office to hear. "You did this! You're behind all of it!" I looked up from my computer with what I hoped was mild confusion. "I'm sorry?" "The video, Grant. The goddamn video that's all over social media. The one that's making me look like a cheating whore." Jerry cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice. This is a workplace." "Shut up," Dana snapped, then turned back to me. "I know it was you. You've been planning this, haven't you? Sitting there in your pathetic little life, plotting your pathetic little revenge." "Dana," I said, quietly, "I think you should leave. I'm not going anywhere until you admit what you did." That's when she slapped me. The sound cracked through the office like a whip, and suddenly everyone was staring. My coworker Janet gasped. Mike from accounting pulled out his phone. Jerry stepped forward, his hand moving to his radio. I touched my cheek, feeling the sting spread across my skin. "Feel better?" "Ma'am," Jerry said firmly, "I need you to come with me. Now." "Don't touch me!" Dana whirled on him, her composure completely shattered. "This is between me and my husband." "Not anymore," I said, standing up slowly. "Jerry, please escort my wife out of the building, and make sure she understands that she's not welcome back." "You can't do this to me," Dana said, as Jerry took her arm. "I'll make you pay for this, Grant. I'll take everything. The house, the car, everything you care about." I smiled then, the kind of smile I'd been practicing in the mirror all weekend. "Good luck with that." As Jerry led her away, I could hear her shouting threats and accusations all the way to the elevator. The office stayed quiet until the doors closed, then erupted in whispers and phone calls and the rapid-fire clicking of keyboards as people rushed to find the video everyone was talking about. My desk phone rang 5 minutes later. "Grant?" It was my boss, Tom Henderson. "Can you come to my office? We need to talk." I found Tom behind his desk, looking uncomfortable. He was a good guy, the kind of manager who remembered your birthday and asked about your kids, the kind who hated dealing with personal drama. "Sit down," he said. "I just got off the phone with building security. They told me what happened." "I'm sorry about that, Tom. I had no idea she was going to show up here." "It's not your fault." He leaned back in his chair. "Look, Grant, I don't know what's going on in your personal life, and frankly, it's none of my business. But you're a good employee, one of the best I've got. If you need some time off to deal with whatever this is, just say the word." "Thanks, but I'm fine. Work is actually the one place where things still make sense." Tom nodded. "Okay, but if that changes, you let me know. And Grant, for what it's worth, I think you handled that situation with a lot more class than most people would have." Walking back to my desk, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Respect. From my boss, from my coworkers, from people who'd watched my wife publicly humiliate me and seen how I'd responded. Not with violence or screaming or threats, but with dignity. It was a good feeling. Almost as good as knowing that Dana's day was about to get much, much worse. Because the video was just the appetizer. The main course was still coming. Evan made his first mistake at 11:30 p.m. on Wednesday. His second mistake was thinking I wouldn't be waiting for him. I'd been parked in the shadows of the parking garage beneath his downtown condo for 2 hours, nursing a coffee that had gone cold an hour ago and listening to true crime podcasts. The kind where ordinary people do extraordinary things when pushed too far. Educational stuff. Evan's BMW pulled into his assigned spot with the aggressive precision of someone who'd had too much to drink and was overcompensating. He sat behind the wheel for a full minute, probably working up the courage to face whatever was waiting for him upstairs. His phone had been buzzing non-stop since the video went viral. Ex-girlfriends, current girlfriends, his boss, his mother, everyone wanted to know if the rumors were true. If he was really the kind of man who'd help a married woman betray her husband. The answer, of course, was yes. But Evan had spent his whole life skating by on charm and good looks, and the kind of confidence that comes from never facing real consequences. That was about to change. He finally got out of the car, fumbling with his keys and muttering under his breath, probably practicing the speech he'd give Dana tomorrow, how they needed to lay low for a while, how this would all blow over if they were careful, how wrong he was about that. I waited until he was halfway to the elevator before I stepped out of the shadows. "Evan." He spun around, his keys flying from his hand and clattering across the concrete. "Jesus Christ, Grant! What the hell are you doing here?" "We need to talk." He straightened up, trying to summon some of that account director authority. "I don't think that's a good idea. You're obviously upset and—" "I'm not upset," I said, walking closer. "I'm curious." "Curious about what?" "About how long you've been screwing my wife." The words hung in the air between us. Evan's face went through several expressions: surprise, guilt, defiance, before settling on something that might have been pity. "Look, Grant, I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but what Dana and I have, it's real. It's not something either of us planned." "Real." I nodded thoughtfully. "Is that what you call it when you mock her husband's clothes? When you laugh about his performance in bed? When you plan how to divide up his assets?" Evan's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do." I pulled out my phone and played a snippet of audio from Saturday night. Evan's voice, crystal clear. "Poor bastard. Does he always dress like he shops at Walmart?" "You recorded us?" His voice cracked on the last word. "I recorded everything, Evan. Every conversation, every text message, every email where you two planned how to destroy my life for your entertainment." He took a step back, his eyes darting toward the elevator. "This is harassment, Grant. I could call the police." "You could," I agreed. "But then I'd have to share all those recordings with your boss, and your ex-girlfriend Jennifer, the one who's been texting you all week, wondering if you're cheating on her too, and your mother who's so proud of her successful son." "What do you want?" I want you to understand something, I said, moving closer. For 8 years, I've been the invisible man, the guy who fixes things when they break, who pays the bills on time, who never causes drama, the guy everyone ignores because he's not interesting enough to notice. Evan pressed himself against his car. Grant, but here's what you and Dana forgot, I continued. Invisible doesn't mean powerless. It just means people don't see you coming. That's when I pulled out the spray paint. Red, like the wine Dana had spilled on my shirt, like the dress she'd worn when she promised to love and honor me, like the lies that had been bleeding out of her mouth for months. Don't, Evan said, but his voice was barely a whisper. I shook the can, the metal ball rattling inside like dice in a cup. You know what the best part about being invisible is, Evan? Nobody suspects you're capable of anything interesting. The word cheater went across his windshield in letters 3 inches high. Bold, red, impossible to miss. I added a heart with an arrow through it on the driver's side door, just for artistic flair. There, I said, stepping back to admire my work. Now everyone will know exactly what kind of man drives this car. Evan stared at his vandalized BMW like he was watching his life crumble in real time, which, to be fair, he was. You're insane, he whispered. No, I said, pulling out my phone to take pictures. I'm thorough. I walked away while he was still standing there, leaving him with his ruined car and his ruined reputation, and the dawning realization that the boring husband he'd underestimated was just getting started. The photos went to Jennifer first, then to his boss, then to a carefully curated list of his friends, family, and professional contacts, along with a simple message. Thought you should know what kind of person Evan really is. By morning, Evan Royce would be the most famous cheater in the city. But that was still just the warm-up act. Ashley's girls' night was supposed to be Dana's safe space. Instead, it became her execution. I knew about the gathering because Ashley couldn't keep her mouth shut if her life depended on it. She'd called me Thursday afternoon, her voice bubbling with fake concern and real excitement. Grant, I'm so worried about Dana. She's been texting me nonstop, saying she needs to get out, needs to be around friends. We're meeting at Rosario's tonight, you know, that wine bar downtown. I just thought you should know, in case she doesn't come home. That's thoughtful of you, Ashley. I mean, I know things are complicated right now, but she's still my friend, you know, even if she made some questionable choices. The way she said questionable choices told me everything I needed to know. Perfect. Rosario's was the kind of place where suburban wives went to feel sophisticated. Exposed brick walls, overpriced wine, and acoustic music that was just loud enough to make you lean in close when you wanted to share secrets. I arrived at 8:30, an hour after Ashley had said they'd be there. Long enough for Dana to have a few drinks and start feeling safe. Long enough for her to start talking. The hostess tried to seat me at a table near the front, but I asked for something in the back corner. Better view of the room, I explained. I was meeting friends later. Dana's table was impossible to miss. 6 women, all dressed like they were auditioning for a reality show about successful businesswomen. Dana sat in the center, gesturing with her wine glass as she told some story that had the others leaning in with fascination. I ordered a beer and waited. So then HR has the nerve to ask me about my personal relationship with Evan, Dana was saying, her voice carrying clearly across the restaurant. Like it's any of their business, who I choose to spend time with. But you are sleeping with him, right? This from Michelle, a woman I'd met at exactly one dinner party and disliked immediately. Dana laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. Of course I am. Have you seen him? The man looks like he stepped out of a magazine. What about Grant? Asked Sarah, Ashley's sister. I mean, you're still married. Please. Dana took a long sip of wine. Grant is... God, where do I even start? He's like living with a piece of furniture. Reliable, functional, and about as exciting as watching paint dry. The table erupted in giggles. Ashley was recording everything on her phone, probably planning to post it later with some caption about girls supporting girls or whatever hashtag was trending. The closeness is just tragic, Dana continued, emboldened by the attention and the alcohol. I actually fell asleep once. Just dozed right off in the middle of it. He didn't even notice. More laughter. More phones coming out to capture the moment. That's when I stood up. The walk across the restaurant felt like it took forever and no time at all. Dana saw me coming when I was 3 tables away, her face cycling through confusion, recognition, and something that might have been fear. "Grant?" she said, her voice suddenly small. "What are you doing here?" "Having a drink," I said, pulling out my phone. "Same as you. Though I have to say your conversation is fascinating. Mind if I share some highlights?" I hit play on the recording I'd made from my table. Dana's voice, crystal clear. "Grant is like living with a piece of furniture. Reliable, functional, and about as exciting as watching paint dry." The silence that followed was deafening. "The closeness is just tragic," my phone continued. "I actually fell asleep once. Just dozed right off in the middle of it." Ashley's mouth was hanging open. Sarah had gone completely pale. Michelle was staring at Dana like she'd never seen her before. "Here's what she texted Evan last night," I said, pulling up the screenshots I'd prepared. "Right after she sent me to the store to buy her tampons. Multitasking is impressive, don't you think?" I read the messages aloud. Every dirty detail, every cruel comparison, every laugh at my expense. The restaurant had gone quiet around us, other diners turning to stare at the drama unfolding in real time. "Grant, stop," Dana whispered, but I was just getting started. "Oh, and here's my personal favorite," I said, scrolling to another message. "From 3 weeks ago when she was planning this whole thing. Grant's so pathetic, he'll probably thank me for leaving him. Put him out of his misery." Dana lunged for my phone, but I stepped back easily. 8 years of marriage had taught me to anticipate her moves. "You bastard," she hissed. "You have no right." "I have every right," I said quietly. "I'm your husband, remember? The furniture you've been planning to throw away?" That's when Ashley made her move. She'd been recording everything, of course, her phone capturing every moment of Dana's public humiliation. But instead of stopping, she kept going, streaming it live to her Instagram account. "Oh my God, you guys," she said to her phone, her voice bright with excitement. "This is insane. Dana's husband just showed up and he has recordings of everything. She's been cheating on him with some guy from work and talking about how boring he is in bed." "Ashley!" Dana spun on her friend, her face flushed with wine and fury. "Turn that off right now!" "Are you kidding? This is the best content I've ever had. I've got like 200 people watching right now." "Turn it off!" "No way. This is going viral." Dana grabbed for Ashley's phone, and that's when the night really went off the rails. Ashley jerked backward, knocking into Sarah, who spilled her wine all over Michelle, who screamed and jumped up, sending her chair crashing into the table behind them. In the chaos that followed, shouting, spilled drinks, restaurant staff rushing over, I just stood there, watching my wife's life implode in real time. Watching her friends turn on her, watching strangers record her meltdown, watching 8 years of marriage burn down in a wine bar in front of an audience of hundreds. "You did this," Dana said, her voice breaking. "You planned all of this." "No," I said, pocketing my phone. "You did this. I just made sure people could see it clearly." I left her there, surrounded by the wreckage of her reputation and the friends who were already distancing themselves from the blast radius. Left her with Ashley's phone still recording, still streaming, still broadcasting her humiliation to anyone who wanted to watch. By the time I got home, the video had been shared 50 times. By morning, it would be everywhere. But the real show was still to come. The Freedom Party was my masterpiece. I sent the invitations on Friday afternoon, 48 hours after Dana's public meltdown at Rosario's, had made her the most famous cheating wife in the city. The video had been shared over 1,000 times, spawning memes and reaction videos and think pieces about infidelity in the digital age. Dana had become a cautionary tale, and she knew it. The invitation was simple. You're invited to celebrate Grant's newfound freedom. Saturday, 7 p.m., backyard BBQ. Bring your appetite and your sense of humor. I sent it to everyone. Our friends, our families, our co-workers, our neighbors, Dana's friends, Dana's family, Dana's co-workers, even Evan, though I doubted he'd show up. I rented a projector and a giant screen, hired a DJ, ordered enough food to feed an army, bought fireworks because why not go all out? If Dana wanted a show, I'd give her one she'd never forget. Saturday evening came with perfect weather, clear skies, warm air, the kind of night that made you believe in new beginnings. People started arriving at 6:30, curious and excited, and slightly nervous about what they might witness. Rick showed up first, bringing beer, and his wife Linda, who'd been following the drama on social media with the dedication of a sports fan. "Dude," Rick said, looking around at the decorations, balloons, streamers, a banner that read, "Single and ready to mingle." "You've really lost your mind, haven't you?" "Found it, actually," I said, handing him a beer. Turns out it was buried under 8 years of being taken for granted. My boss, Tom, came with his wife, my co-workers from the logistics company, neighbors I'd barely spoken to in years, drawn by curiosity and the promise of free food. Even some of Dana's former friends showed up, the ones who'd been cutting ties with her since the video went viral. By 7:15, my backyard was packed with people, all of them buzzing with anticipation. The DJ was playing classic rock, the beer was flowing, and everyone kept glancing at the giant screen I'd set up near the deck. That's when Dana arrived. She came through the side gate like an avenging angel, her face set in lines of fury and determination. She'd dressed for battle, black dress, red lipstick, heels that could double as weapons. Behind her, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, was Evan. The crowd went quiet as she stalked across the yard toward me, her heels clicking against the concrete patio like a countdown to explosion. "What the hell is this?" she demanded, gesturing at the party, the people, the banner fluttering in the evening breeze. "It's a celebration," I said, raising my beer to the crowd. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet my soon-to-be ex-wife, Dana, the guest of honor." A few people laughed nervously, most just stared, their phones already out and recording. "You can't do this to me," Dana said, her voice shaking with rage. "This is harassment. This is abuse." "Really?" I walked over to the projector and powered it on, because I thought it was just transparency. The screen lit up with the first slide, a photo of Dana and me on our wedding day, young and happy and full of hope. The crowd made appreciative noises, the kind you hear at any slideshow of memories. 8 years ago, I said, my voice carrying easily across the yard, I married the woman of my dreams, smart, beautiful, ambitious, everything I thought I wanted in a partner. Click. Another photo, this one from our honeymoon. Dana laughing on a beach in Mexico, her arms around my neck. We had plans, I continued. Kids, a house, growing old together, all the usual dreams. Click. A photo from last Christmas, both of us smiling at the camera while Dana's family looked on. But somewhere along the way, those dreams started to change, at least for one of us. The next slide wasn't a photo, it was a text message, blown up to billboard size. "Grant's working late again. Want to come over? I'll make it worth your while." The crowd gasped. Dana went pale. "This is from 3 months ago," I said conversationally. "Sent to Evan while I was pulling overtime to pay for the vacation Dana wanted to take. To Napa Valley, if anyone's curious. Very romantic destination." "Stop," Dana whispered, but her voice was lost in the murmur of the crowd. Click. Another message. He actually thanked me for suggesting separate bedrooms, said it would help with his snoring, if only he knew what I was really planning. Click. Another. "Evan, You should have seen his face when I spilled that wine on him. I thought he might actually grow a spine for once. No such luck. Click. Another. The divorce lawyer says I can probably get half of everything, plus alimony. Not bad for 8 years of pretending to love a man who bores me to tears. With each message, Dana seemed to shrink a little more. The crowd was completely silent now, absorbed in the train wreck unfolding before them. You want to know the funny thing? I said, turning to face her directly. I actually would have thanked you for leaving me, if you'd been honest about it. If you'd had the courage to tell me you weren't happy instead of turning our marriage into a joke for your entertainment. Grant, please. But you didn't want honest, I continued. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. Keep the boring husband for stability while you had your fun on the side. Keep the joint bank account while you planned your exit strategy. Keep the respect of our friends and family while you laughed about me behind my back. That's when Evan finally found his voice. Enough, he said, stepping forward. You've made your point, Grant. This is over. I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since he'd walked into my backyard. His perfect hair was disheveled, his designer shirt wrinkled, his confidence completely shattered. The man who'd mocked my clothes and my performance and my very existence looked like he hadn't slept in days. Is it over, Evan? I asked. Because I have about 50 more slides. The next image was a photo of his vandalized car, the word cheater, still visible across the windshield in red paint. This is Evan's BMW, I announced to the crowd. As you can see, someone wanted to make sure everyone knew what kind of man he really is. Terrible shame. I hear German engineering is supposed to be so reliable. Evan's face went red. You snake. Do you have any idea what that cost me to fix? Less than what my marriage cost me, I replied. But who's counting? That's when he snapped. Evan charged across the patio like a linebacker, his fists raised and his face twisted with rage. The crowd scattered, drinks spilling and chairs overturning as people rushed to get out of the way. But I'd been expecting this, had been planning for it, actually. I stepped aside at the last second, and Evan's momentum carried him straight into the dessert table. He hit it face first, sending the chocolate cake I'd ordered flying through the air before landing in a heap of frosting and humiliation. The crowd erupted in laughter and applause. Phones flashed as everyone captured the moment when the smooth-talking account director became a human dessert disaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, helping Evan to his feet with exaggerated courtesy. My wife's boyfriend, everyone. As you can see, he's just as graceful in defeat as he was in victory. Evan wiped chocolate from his eyes and tried to swing at me again, but Rick was there suddenly, grabbing his arms and holding him back. Easy there, Romeo, Rick said. I think you've embarrassed yourself enough for one night. That's when Dana completely lost it. You bastard, she screamed, lunging at me with her nails extended like claws. You've ruined everything! Everything! But Linda was ready for her, catching Dana's wrists and holding her back with surprising strength. Honey, Linda said sweetly, I think it's time for you to go home. You're making a scene. I am home, Dana shrieked. This is my house too. Actually, I said, pulling a folded document from my pocket. About that. I filed for divorce on Monday, and since the house is in my name, and you've been using our joint accounts to fund your affair, my lawyer thinks I have a pretty good case for keeping it. I handed the papers to Dana, who stared at them like they were written in a foreign language. You can't do this, she whispered. I can. And I did. I turned to address the crowd, which had grown even larger as neighbors and passers-by were drawn by the commotion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming to celebrate the end of my marriage to a woman who thought I was too boring to deserve honesty, too stupid to figure out her lies, and too weak to fight back when she decided to destroy our life together. The crowd burst into applause. Someone started chanting, Grant! 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 The fireworks I'd bought went off in the distance, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Dana stood there in the middle of it all, covered in cake crumbs and holding divorce papers, while the man she'd left me for dripped chocolate frosting onto my patio. Her friends were filming everything. Her family was staring in horror. Her reputation was burning down around her like a house fire. "You always said I was embarrassing," I told her, raising my beer in a final toast. "Guess I finally proved you right." As the crowd cheered and the fireworks exploded overhead, Dana and Evan stumbled toward the gate, their dignity left scattered across my backyard, along with the cake and the broken dreams and the ashes of 8 years of marriage. I watched them go, feeling something I hadn't experienced in longer than I could remember: complete, perfect satisfaction. The boring husband had finally done something interesting, and everyone would remember it forever.